This is the story about the Keane Wonder mine. It was in the late 1890s that two prospectors, Jack Keane and his partner Domingo Etcharren, were out in an area known as the Chloride Cliffs. These cliffs are located in the Funeral Range Mountains of eastern California, right close to the border of Nevada. The two men were in an area that had all the potential for a silver deposit when Jack happened to notice a quartz vein right close to surface. Inspecting this vein a bit further, Jack noticed there was some gold, and so he and his partner staked the claim and named it the Keane Wonder. Like most prospectors back then, the two men had no money, so they would need to raise some cash in order to get this mine up and running. It wasn't long before they sold an option on the claim to a New York investor named Joseph Delamar. With this new money, the two men set about getting things put together so mining could begin, but soon found out that there were a lot of challenges. Being so far away from civilization, there was shortage of materials, and the costs of those materials were sky high. The nearest town was Ballarat, and that was 70 miles away. News of this strike and a New York investor caused a brief staking rush, and a few more deposits were located a bit further north. With limited infrastructure, Keane and his men could only mine the ore that was close to surface. Joseph, the investor, was getting so upset at this slow progress that he gave up and forfeited his option on the mine. A second investor came along and also ended up walking away because of the slow progress. Then in 1906, a couple of investors, John Campbell and Homer Wilson, happened to come along and turned the Keane deposit into a major mine. Homer Wilson was a well-versed miner from the Mother Lode mines of California and knew his stuff. With Wilson's cash, they built a stamp mill and installed a tram line because the ore deposit was high on a mountain ledge. By 1907, the mine was turning a profit, which was an amazing feat back in those days. Both Keane and his partner Domingo sold their shares to the new owners. Domingo used his shares to purchase a store, while Keane was later involved in a couple of shootings and was imprisoned in Ireland for murder. There was no town for this mine, but they ended up building two different camps. One camp for the mill workers, down on the desert floor, and another camp, up by the mine portal for the miners. The lower camp had sleeping quarters, a store, and even a post office that ran for a couple of years. The upper camp, located almost a mile away up the mountain, was a boarding house for the miners. The mine became such a moneymaker that a railroad was briefly built in the area to connect with the Tonopah and Tidewater Railroad. In fact, it was one of the few mines that stayed working during the panic of 1907 and short recession that followed. Then in 1912, the mine got itself caught up in some financial issues involving the failed State Bank and Trust Company of Nevada. Once that issue was settled, the mine kept working for a few more years. Then, by 1916, the deposit was mostly mined out and the mine was then sold, but never did go back into operation. You can still drive out to this old mine today. Once there, you can see the old structures and tram. There is a trail that climbs 1,500 feet for over a mile and a half to the upper tramway terminal. Just beyond that is the actual mine. I hope you enjoyed this short story about the Keane Wonder mine. Please like, share, and subscribe so we can continue to bring you more old lost mine stories.